Welcome to Chapter 11, The Pocket Watch. Sandy woke up next morning praying that the boys, the murders and the magic lantern were just a very detailed and incredibly real dream. The jungle sounds of the zoo outside soon brought her back to her new reality. As soon as she stepped outside the little room, Harry collared her. "You lads still here, I see." "Yes, sir," Sandy replied. "Well, if you're going to stay in Tam's old room, you might as well have his job as well," Harry said and handed Sandy a broom. "Get Solomon and Betsy's cage swept and then I'll see if I can't rustle us up some breakfast." Sandy was stunned by the callousness. Tam had only been discovered murdered the previous day and his job was already being given away to someone else. It seemed absolutely heartless. "You needn't look so injured. It's not like we don't care about Tam. What happened to him's nothing less than a tragedy. But the animals don't give a fig for who cleans and feeds them, so long as they're seen to." Sandy stood with the broom in hand and looked at the pair of well-dressed apes. Solomon met her stare and made a noise that Sandy assumed was laughter. "Come on, boy. Run, don't daunder. Haven't you got all day?" Harry barked. He opened the door to the monkey house and Sandy entered, ready to clean up their mess. Solomon, who was dressed in a green velvet suit that made him look like a hairy leprechaun, tugged and pulled at Sandy's jeans. She tried to push him off, but he was persistent. "What is it, monkey man?" Sandy asked the chimp, who responded by baring his teeth as if smiling, and then making a funny little whooping noise. Sandy made the whooping noise back. Then Solomon did a very strange thing. He reached into a hole at the back wall of the monkey house, pulled something out and put it in Sandy's back jeans pocket. Sandy tentatively put her hand in the pocket, expecting to find a bit of half-rotten banana or even a chunk of chimp poo, and was very surprised when her fingers closed around something cold and hard. She pulled it out. It was an old-fashioned pocket watch, engraved with the name Thomas Murray on the back. Wasn't Murray the last name of Jamie and Bobby? And wasn't Tam short for Thomas? "Where did you get this?" Sandy asked. The ape responded by pursing his lips together as if blowing a kiss, then blew a raspberry instead and shook his head. "Not telling, eh?" Sandy put the pocket watch in her pocket before Harry, who was sitting on a chair reading a newspaper outside the cage, could see it. She tried to glance over his shoulder to see if she could catch a glimpse of any progress on the murder case, but the print was too small to read from this distance, so she hurriedly finished sweeping the muck into a neat pile and then scraped it up with a shovel. Harry let her out of the cage when she was done and told her where to put the muck. When she returned, he was standing at the door of the small room which Sandy had called home for the last 2 days. Harry had relit the stove and the whistling kettle sat on the hot plate alongside a frying pan which was just beginning to sizzle. Harry added 2 bits of bacon and 2 eggs which jumped and sputtered in the hot fat. The aroma of the cooking meat and eggs was the most wonderful smell in the world. Sandy's stomach gurgled. "You hungry?" asked Harry. "I bet you are. Go wash your hands. Breakfast will be ready in a minute." Sandy showed the young zookeeper her hands, which she had washed at the pump in the back wynd after she had dumped the chimp manure. She had found a bar of disinfectant-smelling soap with the word carbolic stamped on it in one of the store cupboards. It didn't smell particularly pleasant, but it did the job, and its medical scent was reassuringly clean. "You are unnaturally clean for a boy," Harry said, and plated up the delicious-smelling breakfast. "Get that down, yeah." He handed her a plate of bacon, eggs, and a cup of black tea. "Put hairs on your chest, that will." After chewing for a moment on the breakfast, Harry asked, So, where do you come from? I'm from the North Pole, she lied, mumbling through a mouthful of succulent, sizzling hot bacon. Harry nodded. Of course. That would explain your clothes. He wasn't daft. He knew the strange boy was lying, but eventually he would get to the bottom of it. And why exactly are you here? I want to be a performer. It was the most obvious answer Sandy could think of. And it was what she had told the detective the previous day. So you knew Tam then, eh? Well, not really. I know Jamie, and he asked Tam if I could stay here, just until I get my own place. Sandy waited for him to answer her and ask her where her parents were, but the question didn't come. Instead, Harry just started talking about poor Tam and Nellie. Such a shame. I wouldn't want to be the person that found that old lady with her brain smashed in like that. Horrible. And then what happened to Tam? Well, it just seems wrong. He eyed Sandy for a moment, waiting for her to answer. Yes, it's tragic, was all Sandy could think of as a response. Well, finish up, lad. You've got work to do. You'll be paid well, don't worry about that. I shall speak to Mr. Pickard. He's a fair man, if not the most generous, but do a good day's work and you get a bawbee or two for your trouble, he said as he stood up. Go and get these washed and then come back to me and I'll show you how to feed the animals, he said and handed her his plate. Harry, can I ask a question, please? Sandy asked as politely as she knew how. Well, lad, I suppose it would depend on the question. Well, it's just about the magic lantern. I've never seen one before. Where did Mr. Pickard get it from? Ah, are you thinking of saving your money to buy one? It'll cost you more than you earn here in a year. Harry looked at the strange boy's earnest little face. This lad looked and talked odd, but he was well brought up youngster, no doubt about it. But since you ask, he bought it at some auction a few weeks ago with some other bits and pieces. It's a bit old-fashioned if you ask me. People want to see moving pictures these days, but Mr. Pickard thought we could use it to show the advertisements between the acts. So he got Tam and the old man to fix it up for the electric. But where did it come from? Sandy pressed. I don't know. Doesn't exactly tell me his business. Probably some music hall closing down. I don't know, I think he bought it in London. It was probably going cheap, he answered impatiently. Now get on with your chores, he ordered in the most authoritative voice he could muster. Sandy picked up the dirty plates and left. Harry's answers had left her with more questions. Where in London was this auction? Who had owned it? Why did it have such special powers? Did anybody else know about it? By the time Sandy got back from washing the dishes, Harry had gone. His newspaper was left neatly folded on the chair outside the monkey house. Sandy took the opportunity to flick through it and see if there was anything else written about the murder of the old woman, which might give her a clue as to why she was here. Solomon was reaching through the bars for her again, tugging at her jeans. Sandy handed him a banana and continued to read through the paper until she came across something on page 4 with the headline, Revolting Murder in Glasgow. Sandy realised that Harry had been reading yesterday's Evening Times. She was about to put the paper away, thinking there was no point in reading the same news twice, when she noticed that the Evening Times reported a slightly different version of events than the Daily Record article George had read out the previous day. This article suggested the motive was a burglary, not by a Bill Sykes type thug, but by someone known to the victim. The burglar had time in the 10 minutes that Nellie was out to light the gas in the bedroom and rifle through the papers in the workbox which had been left strewn around the room. A number of valuable items, gold rings, bangles, chains and watches, had been left by the burglar. Only a valuable diamond brooch was missing, she wrote. That's interesting. The message projected by the magic lantern had mentioned a diamond. Was it referring to the missing brooch? Well, that's it for chapter 11. We'll see you for chapter 12 on the first Thursday of October. And that will be the last little tantalizer you get before the book is released on the 2nd of November. Yes, see you soon.